up, legends? We are finally getting into it. Yes, it's about time we do a full home office tour for 2025. If you're new here, then welcome to the channel, and if you're not, then welcome back. This is my small home office where I spend the majority of my time. That's programming, filming content, editing content, or just kicking back, playing some games, not forgetting some amateur sim racing. So let's go ahead and check it all out in a little bit more detail. I'll include some prices where I can, as I know plenty of you might be interested, and you'll find any relevant links down below in the description as well. Let's get into it. A relatively new addition to the setup is this 3D printing corner. Now, this doesn't get used as much in recent weeks, mostly because if I am filming something, which is pretty much every day, the noise kind of interrupts the videos. It's not the noisiest thing in the world, but I do a lot of ASMR style videos without any music, so I really can't have the printer working away in the background. However, this is the Bambu Lab A1 combo, pricing in at roughly around £420. It's an amazing entry-level printer that was super quick and easy to get going right away, especially as a 3D printing newbie like myself. I've printed a few cool things in my time, including these custom coasters, a small F1 wing, which I still haven't put on the wall, and even a Warhammer helmet, which I no longer have. The A1 combo comes with both the printer and the AMS light stand, which allows you to hold up to 4 different colours of filament. This is a must if you want to do multicolour prints, as it is clever enough to swap the filament when printing by itself. As I said, it's a really clever and easy to use 3D printer. I have no solid home at the moment for all the extra filament I have, so they are just kind of sitting in the boxes to the side of the printer. I did buy this little unit to house the printer, and it comes with a couple of extra compartments where I store some more filaments, some old prints, and some 3D printing accessories and tools. The AMS does sit off to the side, as a running theme that you'll see throughout this tiny room is that we lack some space. But this works great without any issues, and overall I'm pretty happy with the aesthetic of this corner. Total cost of everything is roughly around £700. So that brings us nicely onto the first desk setup that I have in this office. Now, a question I'm sure many will ask is, why do you have 2 desk setups? And there's actually a good few reasons for it. Firstly, the second desk was sent out by a brand for paid work. Secondly, when I worked as a full-time developer, I had a setup for work and a setup for gaming or personal stuff, which helped massively with motivation levels, especially after sitting at a desk for 8 hours. It was nice being able to get up and switch it up, creating a distinct difference between a work setup and a play setup. Thirdly, now as a full-time content creator, I often get monitors in for review, which means removing monitors and getting them back up, often adjusting cables to suit, which means sometimes this setup can be out of action. That's where having a secondary setup means I can still continue at full steam no matter what the task is. This is a sit-stand desk from FlexiSpot that actually isn't plugged in because I never use the standing functionality. I know it's terrible, but there we are. It's 140 centimeters wide and 65 centimeters deep. We have some nanoleaf lines on the wall alongside the Lego NASA Space Shuttle Discovery. This is wall mounted by a simple 3D mount that I've got from Etsy at the time, but you could quite easily print your own. The monitor we are rocking is the Aorus 32-inch FO32U 4K QD OLED monitor, coming in at roughly £1,000. There's a full review video up on the channel for this one, but this monitor is absolutely incredible. The colours are mind-blowing and games have never looked so good. It's also sitting on a monitor arm from a VLT. I have a PS5 digital edition hooked up to this monitor, and my PC is also hooked up to every single display in this room using very long cables. My old MacBook Air M1 is docked using this stand from 12 South and connected to this monitor via a single USB cable, as the monitor does also have power delivery. Snake plant and a Nintendo Switch OLED off to the side. This currently isn't plugged into the monitor, but in the past I have had this docked here in case I fancy some Pokemon, but as of late I rarely pick up the Switch that much. Maybe when the Switch 2 comes out, that might change. A nice big desk pad from Amazon and a couple of souvenirs I got from Rome when I visited the Colosseum. The current chair we're using is the Doro S100, another chair sent out for review, but I find it very comfy, so I have currently made it my main choice of chair for this setup. With the recent addition of the Aorus QD OLED monitor, I have found myself gaming here much more regularly on both PC and PS5, sometimes even getting out the flying gear for some Microsoft Flight Sim. Total cost of the setup with peripherals, I'd say around £3,000 to £4,000 at a guess. Now we move on to probably my main desk setup. I certainly spend the most of my time here because the ultra-wide is the best productivity hack ever. Now we have a shelf up top with a couple of Star Wars prints. These are from Etsy as well. Then we have a couple of the Lego helmet sets and a TIE fighter that just magically hangs in there. Some colour light panels for mood lights. Some people seemingly get upset by these thinking that they would blind you, but they don't. One of my favourite pieces is this huge Spider-Man poster. I got it from HomeSense in the UK, which is just kind of like a random shop which sells random stuff. I've had it for ages, but I absolutely love it and can't see me replacing it anytime soon. Underneath I have my first gen iPad Pro mounted. Now this iPad is absolutely shot. The battery lasts about a day if you're lucky, which is why I do have a brand new iPad that I picked up last year, but I still keep it mounted here as I think it looks great and it's still cool to use as a display for things like Spotify. The monitor of choice here is the 49-inch Samsung Odyssey. I've had this since the summer of 2023, when I picked it up for around £900 at the time, and to be honest, it's one of the best monitors that I've ever used. Programming, video editing, and even gaming, I do it all on this thing, and it's great at it all. Being able to have multiple displays open at any one time is fantastic for productivity. The 49-inch timeline is also great for video editing, as you can imagine, and I spend a lot of my time in DaVinci Resolve nowadays. It doesn't slack for gaming either. It comes with a 240Hz refresh rate and a 1 millisecond response time, so it is a really great gaming monitor. If you're a fan of the ultra-wide experience, that is. Luckily, I have two monitors, so I can mix it up between the two. I only ever use my M2 MacBook Air here, or the PC depending on what I am doing. Left side of the desk we have a fake plant, a lamp, the Color Play, which is kind of like a Stream Deck with a screen to see PC stats, and then a 3-in-1 MagSafe desk charger from ESR. Desk pad is from Razer. Sadly, it's no longer available as I would love a new one because this one is a little worn because of its age. Cheap speaker from Amazon because this monitor doesn't have any built-in speakers. It's not amazing, but good enough for what I use it for. Another lamp, Alexa Show 5, which has started to lag a little, so I do have a fresh one to replace this one, as I do use Alexa to control all things like the lights in this room. This cool little terrarium from OME Design, and finally, just tucked away, we have the Lego R2-D2. Now I do wish I could display this beauty somewhere in full display, but like I said before, we lack room in here, so we make do with what we've got. The desk is 140 centimeters in length and 70 centimeters in depth, and it was from Active Desk at the time. It is a sit-stand desk and does have some great cable management with this huge trunking underneath. Current chair in use is the Atlas 01 from Colony. You'll see I cycle chairs quite often as I am lucky enough to get lots of great ones in for review, so I will chop and change them depending on how I feel at the time. My cables are hidden from view using things like cable ties, but since I use the wheels and Flight Sim at both setups, there's a few extra cables I have in a semi-permanent setup, so don't mind the extra cables here and there. Everything is able to connect to my PC via hidden USB hubs. It saves running 20 different cables across the room to the PC. Again, total cost of this setup, around £5,000 to £6,000 at a guess. This area is kind of unused. I have a very old 40-inch Samsung TV. It's terrible and I need to replace it really, but I just use it to listen to Disney or have something on in the background with some occasional Xbox use. But I must admit, since getting the 100-inch Hisense TV, I've moved the Xbox downstairs where I do most of my console gaming now. So this table is mostly used for charging controllers. I have both an Xbox and PlayStation charging dock for the controllers here, along with a recent dock for the extra battery packs for my Meta Quest 3, and another Lego helmet here with the Mandalorian. A place to store some items really. I do my best to keep it tidy, but because it's kind of hidden, I'll often dump things here for a little bit. Then you might notice the monitor arm here, which is used to hold my racing sim monitor, along with the same cheap Amazon speaker here again for the racing sim. Which of course brings us onto the racing sim. First up, this is a 34-inch Dell ultra-wide monitor, which was around £400 at the time I purchased it. Again, no speakers, but it does the job nicely for sim racing. I have been considering an upgrade soon, but as you can see, I am a little limited for space. The rig itself is the Track Racer TR8 Pro with the Track Racer seat. This thing is absolutely solid and is a really epic rig. Comes in at around £1,000 for both the frame and the seat. All of the gear I use is Moser, so we are using the Moser R9 V2 base, which is mounted upside down. We have the CRP2 load cell pedals, and we pretty much use every wheel that Moser have to offer, which as you can see, we have both door and wall mounted to go alongside my F1 hats collection. I am planning on going another row up, which will mean I then have enough space for every team, but I need more hooks and more hats. So whether we are wanting to use the shifter and a normal wheel because we're racing in a Fiat 500, or we can switch out to a Formula wheel if we're feeling an F1 car, or even of course something like a GT car. Then we even have the truck wheel for some truck simming. There's a mouse plate to the right so I can still use the mouse, and I am also using the Logitech heavy duty side panel for games like Farming Sim or Truck Sim. Cable management is pretty poor down here, and that's partly to do with the cables being too short on the monitor, which means I can't move some of these left or right without them being unplugged from the PC. And because I've been considering a new monitor eventually for this setup, I have been holding out waiting for that, knowing that I'll then get some new cables at that time to then sort out this mess. However, everything in this room is connected somehow to the single PC. So as you saw, we do have a few USB hubs and cables all over to make sure we can use peripherals on any setup, which is why you'll see some of the hidden cables down here, where I have tried to hide some by using a small shelf where I display my Senna Lego build. Total setup of the sim, including all the Moser wheels and gear, roughly around £4,000 to £6,000. The last but probably most important part of this entire setup is the drawers with the PC. As I've said multiple times, every single monitor is run off this PC, so this PC really is the powerhouse of the entire home office. It's a solid build which cost me around £2,000 when I bought it from NZXT as a pre-build, and the system specs are as follows. We have a case from NZXT, we have the AMD Ryzen 5 5700X CPU, we have 48 gigs of RAM, and an Nvidia GeForce 4070 Ti graphics card. Now we do have an AMD Ryzen 7 9800X 3D ready to go in the build, but my motherboard doesn't support this gen of CPUs, and with the arrival of the 50 series cards very soon, I'll likely be upgrading most components in this build to run this CPU with a 50 series cards, so we're just kind of in a bit of limbo at the minute. Whilst the PC does the job for now, and that's both for 4K and ultra-wide gaming depending on the games, I can run a smooth 60 or even up to 200 frames per second, but you are always looking for more, especially with heavy games like Microsoft Flight Sim. The drawers then are home to many different accessories. We have a drawer full of XR glasses and controllers, a drawer for mice and other accessories, and then a whole drawer dedicated to keyboards, with the bottom drawer being a throw in and forget about it kind of mess. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my entire home office for 2025. Is it perfect? Not even close. But everything in here serves some kind of purpose for myself. And whether I'm programming, filming some content, editing some content, general productivity work, or just kicking back, playing some games on PS5, PC, or even sim racing, this is where I like to spend most of my time. There's nothing better than building your own dream home office that you get to work from every single day. It's an absolute blessing for sure. Now I hope I have covered everything in enough details for your entertainment. I'll leave links down below for some of the big items. However, if it isn't listed here, then head over to my gear page and you should find it there. I've mentioned prices for a few things, but not everything in this video, as things have been accumulated over the last 6 years or so I really have no real idea of how much everything would cost together at retail value. I'll drop any throwback pictures I can find in here now for you to see how far this setup has come. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you've enjoyed the video, and until the next one, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.